When you ask anyone in our team or you ask me like, hey Marnix, what do you actually do at Bite Me Games? I often don't know what to really answer. And it's not because I'm just sitting here and like cashing money from like our game sales but not really working. It's quite the opposite. It's because I do pretty much everything that's not programming. That's how we generally describe it. So what that means is I do the art for our games usually quite a bit. So either 2D pixel art for a current game or the 3D art for a previous game. I do the creative direction in general, the game design. I do these YouTube videos where I just talk to the camera because this is a way that we are earning money. I do our project management for our games. So basically I create all of the issues, all of the tasks. I have like the producer role there. I interact with, if we go to contractors, for example, to outsource our art, and I deal with the entire business as well. So basically the accounting, making sure like how are we gonna make money? Do we have a strategy there? And also if we go to events, I can keep on going basically. So there's no succinct answer really. I think in my email I just say producer and creative director, or sometimes I say producer and content creator. But the point is I do a lot of stuff. And I don't personally mind doing this many things. Of course, keep in mind, I'm working full-time here at Bite Me Games, so I don't have to work another day job. I can just work the entire day for Bite Me Games. And I like that I have this variety because it means that every day, basically, if I want, I can work on something different. I can do marketing for our next game. I can get new screenshots or make a trailer, or I can go and like do just some art or file more like invoices for a tax accounting. It can be completely different things and I like all of them in general. But what's the point of this video? Well, it's that honestly, I see a lot of you guys do this and you're solo developers, so you have to do all of the things that I do plus programming usually, but you can't do it all. That's where I came to the conclusion, because I've been doing this for more than 6 months full time at this point, and there are some pretty big issues just with doing this approach of I'm going to do everything. Honestly, you probably won't be able to change all of it like just from watching this video, but I want you to be more aware of it so you can stay vigilant and be like, hey, should I really be doing this? We covered it in a previous video as well of like, hey, velocity, you can check that one over there, but I want to dig a bit deeper on that concept in this video. So the good news. You're going to be a pretty solid generalist. That's already something I can guarantee you right now. If you're involved in every single part of like your game's development process, well, you're gonna have a really good understanding of how does everything fit together, know a little bit of how to fix things here and there, and you're just gonna be learning the basics very quickly. There's like this principle where 20% of the effort leads to 80% of the results. You're basically gonna get that 80% of the results for every single field in like game development, which sounds great, but there's also a catch here because you won't have time to specialize really on anything. I can like help a little bit with like brainstorming why a certain piece of code doesn't work, but I can't write the entire piece of code. I can brainstorm, or I can like give more feedback of, hey, this art, this is like the art direction, like the perspective's wrong or whatever, or like the style is too flat. I know like a bit of the terms there. Or I can talk about 3D modeling as well of, hey, can we put a different shader on this? Can we like do a UV remap or something like that? I can talk to anyone that I interact with basically who's better at me than me. I can talk about the basic concepts. I also have like a bit of skill in everything, but actually specializing on anything, honestly, I don't feel like I'm that special. I think if there's anything that I've specialized in, it's this YouTube channel. And it's like, how do I make YouTube videos and how do I grow my channel a bit? But even that, it's like, we're not perfect. We don't have perfect click-through rates. We don't have like perfectly researched and A/B tested titles and thumbnails. I just make something and usually it works out. And it's great, but the problem is, if you keep doing all of these things, you won't be able to expand as a developer. You will be stuck as this generalist because I have all of these things. I cannot spend more than 4 hours a week usually on one individual thing, which can be a problem if you wanna find a job later on in life. Because try going for look up like game dev jobs and look for generalist, and you'll notice that the only like things that say generalist basically are like, oh, we need a programmer or an artist who can also do everything else. They still need a specialist who can like do more stuff, but they're not looking for someone like me who can do a bit of everything. If you're running an indie studio, like your own indie studio, I have a great profile for that. I have great insights of how does like the whole studio work, but the moment you put me somewhere else, I'm useless. And sure, Bite Me Games right now, it's still gonna exist for a little bit, so that's fine. But if we ever were to go under, that's a very big risk that I'm taking. It's gonna be harder. Of course, there's the advantage as well of maybe you're better at adapting to an environment, you can learn quicker. But honestly, I do kind of miss that I am not special, or I don't have a specialty really where people go to for me. People go to me to just get like general advice, general overviews, and I can give that. And sure, that's like a talent in its own, but I miss that specialty sometimes. But I just can't evolve as a specialist because I do not have the time for it. So this is also where I want to ask you, is this what you want? Is this the future you want to build to? Probably right now, if you're a solo dev, like I said, this is the reality. But if you knew that, okay, in 3 months, I'm gonna die, would you want to keep doing all of these things? Or would you rather focus on programming or only on art and leave all of these other things behind? Because that's basically what you should be working towards. Because the more like our company grows, the less sustainable it will be to do all of these things. And you will have a preference, I can guarantee you that. So this is my reality check to you, because being this kind of generalist is also very similar to scope creep. You start pretty small. It's like, oh, I like have to send a few documents to my accountant and otherwise I just make my game and that's all I deal with. But as your game evolves, instead of adding features, it's like new cogs that are being added. So suddenly, oh, I need to go and like do a publisher pitch, or I need to go to an event to showcase my game, or I need to like get an extra artist, I need to hire someone. All of these things nibble away on like the brain power you have, on the energy you have and the focus you have. And if you're not aware of that and if you're not vigilant, suddenly you're gonna like be barely spending any time on the thing you really love. What's worse is we only have 24 hours in a day. So this doesn't scale infinitely. This doesn't scale until like you have a company of 50 people. You can't run that on your own, and you need to be prepared for that. And you should work towards being able to outsource and delegate and do things like that just to get more time so you can work on the things that you actually provide value in. Stick to your strengths really. And this is also where I want to talk about something that game developers have often. I said this in the Velocity video as well, is you should value your time more. It's crazy to me, and I mean, I've done this before as well, how a developer can start working on a game and they maybe even have a job and like a bit of disposable income, yet still, even though they have like a few $100s a month that's like available, if they're like hardcore programmers, they will still convince them that they're gonna need to learn Blender for the next 6 months to make like the characters of their game and like all of the assets. Even though they suck at it, they don't really like it, it's gonna be really slow to learn and the end result isn't even going to be worth it. And they're gonna be saving at most like $1,000 over 4 to 6 months of like development time. Where I'm just like, how can you do this? You could just buy a few assets, like really good assets, or even get like a custom like model commissioned, like your main character or whatever, and then use assets for like your props, maybe slap on a shader, and that's all you need really to have a good game art-wise. So if you're like really good at programming, don't bother with learning Blender, learning like any other modeling software, learning how to draw. Just focus on your strengths and keep working on that, because your time is valuable as well. Because there's this opportunity cost. That's the concept I want to talk about as well, where by not doing what you're good at, you're going to be losing a lot of value that you could have perhaps created. So instead of, let's say, instead of those 4 to 6 months of, okay, learning mediocre Blender, you just outsourced it and you spent 4 to 6 months on creating more content, getting deeper mechanics, or just finishing your game 2 to 3 months earlier, because you didn't have to worry about suddenly how to model everything. That can have brought much more value to both your company, to your game sales. You could have spent more time on marketing maybe, anything really that would have given you more money in the end than if you just had to learn everything yourself. There was this really eye-opening conversation I had recently with Michael Futter, who is like a consultant and he does like publisher pitch reviews and things like that. And he was like, yeah, so Forge Industries made $7,000 or whatever. And sure, you just like didn't spend any money basically on it. Like the only thing we spent money on was our like promo art and that's it. But if you would have spent like €1,000 on getting an actual 3D artist, like a technical artist, for example, who could have helped you, your game would have probably sold for 5,000 to 10,000 euros more, because it would have been visually much better. It would have sold much better. We're always very anti-publisher. We're like, oh, we can do everything ourselves, because we don't want to have that liability of, oh, we need to pay back the publisher. But in the end, if we plan things well, we get that publisher and he gives us like whatever, 50K. We're not in like discussions with a publisher, but I'm just saying some numbers. And we spend all of that on art and marketing, we could probably get 250K return from that game, compared to if we spent nothing and we would have gotten like only 40K if we had like a really good launch that was already like extremely high end really. In the end, it's gonna be much more worth it to get that publisher, to spend some time on it. And yeah, sure, you have the revenue split and they're gonna recoup, but you're still gonna be earning more money in like the short term and the long term, because you don't have to worry like month by month during development of, oh, will I be able to still afford paying our developers? And then in the end, like the sum of everything combined, you'll also have made more money. This is a mindset shift that you need to implement as a developer. And I'm not saying that for your first game you should go to a publisher. Don't do that. But look at getting assets or even hiring someone or just finding someone to work with and like paying them upfront instead of as a revenue share only, just to get like programming or more models or more art, things like that. It's gonna earn you more in the end. And sure, it's gonna cost you a little bit upfront, but it's gonna be worth it. Also, here's my plug again for a Patreon. If you do have some money, you don't know where to spend it, for 35 euros, you can have a dedicated one-to-one monthly call with me where I talk about what should your priorities be and should you really even be pursuing whatever you're pursuing right now, or should you focus on your strengths? That's all the pitch. If you want some help, go there. So that's really all I have to say. For my actionable step, what I did as well is log your hours for like a week, like track every single thing you do. And what are you doing? Are you making models? Are you programming? Are you sending random emails to some other company? Or like, are you sending press reviews? Log all of that and you'll see you have so many different tasks that you need to do, and start looking at, okay, which ones do I actually hate? Which ones would I rather like pay someone to do instead of having to spend any more time on it? There's gonna be things. One of the things as well that I wanna look into at some point, for example, is not having to edit these videos anymore. It's just not financially viable right now, but the moment that I can, it's like on my list as like a #1 priority. Get those videos edited by someone else so I have more time to just talk into the camera. I like doing this. I don't like the edit afterwards. I just want to share my wisdom with you guys. Similar to people who just want to program and don't want to do art, or who just want to draw like cute GIFs and not deal with setting up a whole marketing campaign. It can be really worth it, and it's gonna earn you more money in the long run just by looking at what should you prioritize and what should you just spend a little bit of money that you do have, spend it on that. Of course, I'm a rich white man living in Europe where there's free healthcare and whatever, so keep that in mind. But for my situation, this is my opinion. If you have a different situation, maybe it's different, leave a comment down below. I'll see if I can help you a little bit that way. But generally, that's all I really have to say. If you're a game developer and you're interested in learning more about game development, you've come to the right place. We upload 3 videos every week talking about the process of game development, the things we've learned, the mistakes we've made, such as not outsourcing our art, and just share our wisdom with you guys. So if that's something that you're interested in, be sure to head down below and subscribe, as it really helps us out, because we know that you guys are interested in this and you're watching this, which in return will make us get more games out there, get more videos out there, and we all make less mistakes in the end. That's all I really have to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!